Hey there, in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through my daily and also weekly and monthly airdrop farming checklists. So this is a list of tasks that you can do, and you can do it as often as you like, depending on how ambitious you are with your airdrop farming. So for starters, this Google Sheet right here has two tabs, and I'm gonna post a link to this down below so you can access it for yourself. You won't be able to edit it, but you can copy and paste a version of it into a new Google Doc for yourself if you want to use it. The first tab is a list of things that you can do daily if you want to. And the second tab is a list of things that you should do probably at least monthly, but potentially weekly if you're more ambitious. And if you're super ambitious at airdrop farming, you're basically a full-time farmer, you could try to do some of this stuff daily as well. But I don't think that's practical for most people. Now, before I start breaking down this airdrop task checklist, I just wanted to briefly say this has been posted for Patreon members for several weeks now. They get early access to a lot of my content and sometimes exclusive content as well. So currently on the Patreon page, I have a full airdrop portfolio breakdown. And in that video, which is about 32 minutes, I actually give a detailed breakdown of exactly what I'm doing with my wallets in Ethereum, Solana, Cosmos, Aptos, Sui, and a bunch of other stuff as well. So that is currently only live for Patreon members. So if you are interested in joining the Patreon, it's only $5 per month. You get early access to videos like this and also to tools like this airdrop farming checklist. Oh, and the other benefit is that you can join the Cove Discord, where we're in there all the time discussing airdrop alpha and best strategies to farm airdrops. So anyways, with that out of the way, let's get into this checklist. So in column A, that is the name of the project. Now, the first two items on the list obviously are a little cheeky plug for my YouTube channel and the Discord, but I feel like if you watch my YouTube videos on a daily basis, you'll probably have a decent idea of what the big airdrop metas are. Anyways, going down beyond that, I have grouped these projects according to the type of activity that they are. And I would say some of these are higher priority than others. And in my opinion, a lot of the ones that require an on-chain transaction or a minting or a collection of some sort are a higher priority, although there are definitely some free ones that have zero actual gas fees to complete the tasks that could actually be solid ones as well. So I'm not actually going to go through every single one of these because that would take too long, but for each task, I've listed what you have to do. And if you click it, there's a link that will bring you to the page. And so what I would say is if you want to try and use this, the best thing to do would be to go through once and then see which tasks you think are actually worth your time and energy and money and which ones you want to prioritize. So for example, for me personally, some ones that I actually do, Dmail is a good way to generate cheap transactions on a bunch of different L2s, and I like airdrop qualifiers like this because you can increase your airdrop farming surface area with a multi-airdrop qualifier. So you can use the Dmail application to send just random messages, and you can do this on ZK Sync, on Scroll, on Linea, etc. So all these different L2s that you're farming, you can get daily points boosts for Dmail, and then you could potentially get an airdrop from Dmail as well. So that's a good one. Some of these social ones I feel like are also going to be solid ones, like Hey/Lens Protocol and Warpcaster as well. Hey actually just released a points checker, so you can go to your profile page on hey.xyz. And if you click up here on the little icon in the top right-hand corner, you can see what your Hey score is. So this is potentially hinting that there could be an airdrop. Another good one for daily transactions on chain is definitely Al2 Finance. So Al2 Finance has a bunch of ways that you can generate really cheap, low cost transactions on a variety of different Ethereum L2s to farm those airdrops and also to get points for a potential Al2 Finance airdrop. So things that you can do here are to make a bridge transaction. You can do a daily check-in, and you can just select which network you want to check in on, and then you sign a transaction in your wallet to do that. So I could check in right now with the ZK Sync Era network, and if the ZK Sync snapshot hasn't happened, then this is just another transaction I'm generating for ZK Sync. So you can see this costs 2 cents. Other things that you can do on Al2 Finance are to mint inscriptions. This is kind of like burning money to generate cheap transactions. You can deploy generic smart contracts on a few different ETH L2s. These smart contracts themselves are not actually going to be worth anything, but it helps you generate just random transactions on these different networks, and smart contract deployments makes your wallet kind of look like a dev wallet. And L2 Finance also has an airdrop tracker, so you can paste your wallet address in and it will tell you roughly how you're doing for that airdrop. So according to this, my Krypto Cove.eth wallet is in the top 5% of users on ZK Sync. Not bad. Anyways, that is definitely a good one for sure to do some cheap daily transactions. And obviously, I'm not going to go through every single one on the list here, but take a look through and see which ones you value and think add the most to your daily airdrop farming activities. Now, in terms of the free ones that I do that don't actually generate on-chain transactions, I actually do the mint chain one every day. So you just go here and collect these little bubbles. I have a lot of these from referrals, but you can collect up to 500 every 12 to 24 hours. And then you click this button here to water your tree and to make it bigger. So if there's a mint airdrop, just doing these daily collections and ranking up your tree could help you qualify for that. It takes like 2 seconds and it's kind of fun. So I do this one. Drip House I do as well. So this is one where you can get free Solana collectibles. You can go every day and claim droplets from Drip House. So this is what you can spend to get these free collectibles, which are NFTs. And then you can also do this legendary lock-in thing where you can try to rank up and get a higher rarity free NFT drop when they do this weekly. Rugged again by Drip, but you can try this every day if you want to. So those two I definitely do. I also do the EtherFi daily check-in. You just click a button and you get free points for the EtherFi airdrop. And obviously it depends on how much time and energy you have to dedicate to this and also capital. I personally have reached a stage where I'm just spending so much time making videos and farming other airdrops with my capital that I don't focus a lot on some of these free tasks because they're kind of time consuming. But if you don't have a lot of capital and you have a lot of time, then I think it probably does make sense to do all these daily things, even if they're a little bit annoying, because you just click a few buttons and then down the road, even if you don't get a massive airdrop, even if you just get like 100 or 200 bucks for collecting some of these things, that could potentially help you build up that airdrop snowball until you can start focusing on other airdrop opportunities that require more money. Other good ones, definitely layer 3 GMs. So you just go to the layer 3 app and then down on the right hand side here, there's just a button that you click to say GM. But if you get certain streaks, you get bonuses for that as well. So layer 3, I've gotten the cubes for this, and I actually do use layer 3. I only have 118 cubes. Some people have, multiple hundreds, but ain't nobody got time for that. Oh, and another one that I've started doing, I'll scroll back up here, is Cove Protocol. This one is another on-chain transaction. So every day you can come back and you can mint some SOL tokens or points on these 4 different networks. So I'm already on ZK Sync. Basically what you do once you've signed up for this is every day you can come back, click this Carve button here, and then it's just a super cheap transaction, 2 cents, and it gets you some Carve points or SOL tokens that you can use down below to interact with this application. So that's another one that I actually personally do. Anyways, that is the daily airdrop checklist. I'll probably leave it there. Personally, I fade all of these social ones at this point, especially the ones that you have to go on Twitter and comment and spam the ticker symbols. I feel like A, those are annoying to do, and I just personally don't have time for them. And then B, it actually has become quite risky because Twitter has been cracking down on these sorts of activities. A lot of people have been getting their Twitter accounts banned for doing them. So I would say if you're doing these social tasks on Twitter, be careful. And then down below here, there's a few that were on this list previously that have since completed. So I've kind of just crossed them off the list. Anyways, that is the daily airdrop task checklist. And if you have any suggestions of things that I should add to it, feel free to comment them down below. I want to try and keep this up to date. And of course, I want to add new things in as they pop up. Now let's move to the weekly or monthly checklist, because this is, I would say, kind of higher value and higher priority stuff that could make you more money. Just to break it down on a basic level, in the first section here, column A, I've just listed a bunch of L1s or L2s that you could interact with at least on a monthly basis, because with these airdrops, really the goal is to increase the unique weeks and months and years, technically, that you've interacted with these protocols for, because that could be an airdrop qualifier or multiplier. So if you, every week or month, depending on how often you want to farm these airdrops, copy and paste the checklist, clear it out, and then go through and put a little check mark anytime you've actually completed at least one interaction with that network in a unique week or month, then that will help you keep track of making sure that you're staying on top of that. Another big category of airdrops are bridges. So this right here is a list of bridges that I am personally trying to use. And with the bridges, it definitely boils down to number of transactions. So even doing something like a 1 transaction a month on Jumper or Orbiter or whatever, it's not gonna result in you getting a massive allocation. I can pretty much guarantee that. But if you do it weekly over the course of an entire year, then that could result in something. And if you're even more ambitious and you do kind of daily transactions on Jumper, then you'll definitely rank up. So this is a list of the high profile, high value bridges that I am farming. And that is for bridging tokens of a higher value. But there's also refuel features where you can send tiny amounts of cryptocurrency to a bunch of different networks. And these are good things to do as well because it can really help you increase your surface area, increase the number of chains that you transact on for these bridges. So one of the ones that I really like is layer0.gas or lz.gas.zip. And so how this works is you select your source chain, and then you can select a bunch of different chains to send tokens to, and you just send a small amount to each, but each one of these triggers a transaction through the layer 0 protocol, so that could result in the layer 0 airdrop. So yeah, refuel features, definitely good to do. Making swaps on decentralized exchanges is also a solid multi-airdrop qualifier because usually these are tokenless, and then also you can do swaps on different L2s. So for example, SyncSwap is live on Scroll, ZK Sync, and Linea, all of which are tokenless. So if you come back periodically and just make swaps on these dexes, that's a solid airdrop qualifier for sure. And the more that you cover, the greater the airdrop surface area. And by the way, this applies not only to Ethereum and ETH L2s, but also to Solana, and even in the Cosmos ecosystem, there are airdrop targets. Each one of these that's blue is linked to the DEX. So if you click here, it will bring you to the Jupiter DEX where you can swap tokens on Solana. Next, we've got testnets. Now, I have not included the full comprehensive list of testnets. I think these are some of the ones that might actually be more valuable, but for sure there's other ones, and if you want to add more testnets in there, you absolutely can. Moving on, there's also perp dexes where you can trade on leverage. And for these ones, usually it actually just boils down to the volume that you move through the perp dex and the amount that you spend on trading fees. And this is a whole entire separate category of airdrop farming. I would say you have to be careful with these because when you're trading on leverage, you can definitely get wrecked. But many people have made decent money farming some of these, and the approach is to basically burn money in transaction fees by just trading on these perp dexes and get a solid airdrop from that. Okay, next down here, I've got monitor health of DeFi loans. Now, this doesn't have to be so much of an active activity, but I would say if you have a position open on a DeFi platform like Ironclad Finance or Init Capital, where you've loaned some assets out and maybe you've borrowed some assets against that, it's definitely important to check it periodically to make sure that the loan health is good and that the interest is within the range of what's acceptable to you. And a great example of why you need to regularly monitor this stuff is just a couple of days ago, Easy ETH from Renzo depegged, and I had a position on Ironclad Finance where I was lending Easy ETH and borrowing Wrapped ETH, and my position almost got liquidated because of that depeg event. And so if you use leverage on DeFi platforms within any ecosystem, really, it's important to keep an eye on that for sure. But other than that, it's not necessarily super active unless there's a crisis. It is kind of like a set once and then just wait until you rack up points and interest and then eventually, hopefully, an airdrop. Next, there's also monitoring and rebalancing liquidity pools. This requires more active attention usually than DeFi positions where you've lent and borrowed. Because, for example, if you provide liquidity on one of these dexes for ETH and USDC, if the price of ETH goes out of the range of what you've decided to provide that LP in, you have to rebalance it. Otherwise, you're not earning points, you're not earning yield, and your position is really useless at that point. And so if you do provide liquidity, which is a little bit more of an advanced or at least intermediate airdrop farming activity, I would say, you definitely have to monitor those at least on a weekly or monthly basis. But again, these are great multi-airdrop qualifiers because if you provide liquidity on ambient finance, you can farm the Scroll airdrop and the ambient finance airdrop simultaneously. And just to give you an example, I am providing liquidity on SyncSwap, on Ambient Finance, on Aperture, also on Ekubo, and then also on Meteora for Solana. So that does require a bit of attention on my part to make sure that the LP doesn't go out of range. Next, another important category of airdrop farming tasks to check off your list is to vote on governance proposals. So if you hold and stake any of these assets listed here and many other ones as well, I just listed kind of the main ones that I'm focused on, then you need to make sure that you're not missing any votes, because when you go and vote on proposals for staking Jupe, for example, you get rewards. But if you don't vote, you get nothing. So if you're staking these tokens, it's definitely important to vote. It's also possible that in the future, there will be sort of airdrop multipliers for people that stake and vote relative to people that just stake and don't participate in governance. Okay, moving on now, there's two more categories. One is NFTs generally. So there's a couple of things that you need to do. If you're farming these platforms, the NFT exchanges, then really you do need to be quite active in bidding and listing and buying and selling NFTs. And so with these airdrops, I would say if they have specifically a point system where they've laid out exactly what you need to do in order to rank up, and Tensor and Magic Eden, also Blur, are good examples of that, then you need to be quite active. But in other cases, there's not necessarily as explicit of a list of criteria that you need to complete. And so with some of these other examples, maybe you don't need to be as active, but it's still solid to go back every once in a while and interact with it. But then aside from the trading of NFTs, I've also put in a category here called Other. And in that, I've included just some random NFT mints. So inscriptions on L2 Finance, I kind of already talked about that, but Zora is a solid one where if you want to farm the Zora L2 airdrop, it makes sense to go back to their platform at least monthly and mint something, maybe weekly if you have a bit more capital. And then there's a lot of other NFTs that you can mint on a bunch of different platforms. So two examples that I've included here are Brix Mint and ZK Stars. These are ways that you can increase the number of smart contracts that you interact with on a variety of different networks. So for example, Brix Mint is enabled on all these different networks. They've got, I think, 30 different NFTs. Yeah, and each one that you mint is from a separate smart contract. So by minting that NFT, you're interacting with a new smart contract for that network. And so it's 30 times 5 networks, so 150 different smart contracts here. And then if you ever use these sort of airdrop rank checking websites like RubyScore or NFT Copilot is another one, they usually list the number of unique contracts that your wallet address has interacted with. And the goal among airdrop farmers is to increase the number of unique contracts as much as possible. So using websites like Brix Mint is a way that you can do that pretty cheaply by minting these pointless NFTs. These NFTs are never going to have any value, so you're basically burning a little bit of money to increase your smart contract count. ZK Stars is pretty much the exact same thing, but then there's another type of NFT, which is an NFT that you mint for bridging purposes. So for example, Merkley, let's open this link here. Merkley allows you to mint these worthless generic NFTs and then bridge them to different networks. So this is actually enabled for Layer 0 and also for Hyperlane. The Polyhedra airdrop already happened, so I don't recommend wasting money on Polyhedra. But you could burn a couple of dollars by minting and bridging just these fake, well, not fake, but worthless NFTs on Merkley, and that will help you interact with Layer 0 and Hyperlane. And then there's a lot of other options to do stuff like that, so I've included some links here. Another thing that you can do is to create your own NFT collection. You can do this on Zora, but you can also do this using OmniSea, and this is a really great platform that I like to use to create NFT collections on all of these different networks here. And OmniSea is also powered by Layer 0. So for example, I could create just a random NFT collection on ZK Sync or Scroll, deploy it, and that helps me rank up for those airdrops. And then beyond that, I've got the smart contract stuff. So there's the L2 smart contracts that I showed you. Merkley also has smart contracts, but Third Web allows you to do a little bit more of a complex smart contract where you can actually deploy a token and mint the supply and burn it and airdrop it. And then if you're even more advanced, you can use Remix. And this is actually like kind of the most legit way to deploy a smart contract in a way that's still somewhat accessible to people that have zero coding experience. So that is it. That is the full airdrop task checklist. Daily, weekly, and monthly. based on just how ambitious you are, and you can adapt this to meet your own personal needs. So hopefully you found this useful. As always, again, if you want to get early access to stuff like this, you can join the Patreon. And thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.